good morning, everybody, and thank you so much, members of the press, for joining us. Thank you to our leaders that are here with us, the powerful line of women and a couple men who are here with us today. You know, all of us are here because we share the same transportation goals. We want to create more opportunity. We want to serve underserved neighborhoods. We want to ease congestion and reduce pollution. And we want to improve our public transit system so that it works for everyone. But we also know you have to be intentional with that work. You can't just survey in general ways. You can't just hope by looking at everybody that you'll see everyone. And that's why we're so excited to be here today, to build on the work that we've been doing here in what is indisputably now the transportation infrastructure, construction, and revolution capital of America. Things like Measure M, the nation's largest transportation measure to ever pass, ×2, which is building and extending 15 rapid transit lines across Los Angeles County. And our next gen bus plan, which is for the first time in decades, getting us to a place where we can get better service for all of our customers in Metro. But we can't see where our public transit falls short in meeting riders' needs if we don't understand what those needs are, which is why today is so important. And we can't bring gender equity, and I'm so proud of everything that this building is doing on gender equity, but we can't bring that to our transportation system if we don't focus on the experiences of women. Those are some of the fundamental questions that are at the heart of the two landmark studies that we're celebrating here this morning. Metro's Understanding How Women Travel study and LADOT's Changing Lanes, a gender equity transportation study. And it's not a coincidence that both transportation agencies turn their focus to this subject. You see, gender equity is a prism through which we refract everything in the city and county. The core value of the work that we do and shapes so much of the actions that we take. Certainly been the core of my leadership of this city. That's why back in 2014, we commissioned a landmark study ourselves with Mount St. Mary's College. It was with our Commission on the Status of Women where we wanted to produce a report on gender equity in the city of Los Angeles. And our next step after finding those important findings was to make gender equity an imperative for every city leader. I give reviews to every single general manager each year. It's actually in our, as much as they love it, it's in our charter. But I'm the first mayor to do that each year. And one of the things that I ask each general manager, executive director, head of each one of our departments to do is to report on the progress, the work, and the goals they have on gender equity. So for the first time in our city's history, a majority of our commissioners are women. In other words, you can't manage what you don't measure. Or said another way, if you're not looking for it, you won't see it. That's why these two studies are so critical. And we have a very full program today. You're going to hear a lot more specifics, but it's really about not just reporting what we see, but what the way forward will be. But first, I just want to note how fortunate we are in Los Angeles to have such extraordinary people chairing and leading Metro and our transportation efforts, leading our Department of Transportation, our City Council. It says they are all women, but many of them are women, which means they're making long overdue history in each case. And for the first time, we have both Metro and Los Angeles Department of Transportation led by women, a Metro board led by a woman, a City Council led by a woman, and good allies and visionaries who are men who own gender equity as much as women do, because they know in order for us to have a better system, men have to do this work too. So with that, let me turn it over to our first speaker. She's not only chair of our Metro system, but she's also chair of our County Board of Supervisors in the largest county in America, second largest Metro system in America, and somebody who has served us at every level, state, national, and local, with such vision and clarity, and she has always been a great champion of gender justice. Please welcome Supervisor Hilda Solis. We'll come back for Spanish again.
Buenos dias. Yes. And thank you so much, Mayor Eric Garcetti. It's wonderful to be here with you and with so many distinguished guests. And I want to also give a big shout out to our council member, Mike Bonin, who also makes us a proud member of the Metro Board and fighting hard for the underserved, as well as council member Joe Buscaino, who we serve together on the Sanitation District Board, and he's one of those directors. So want to say hello to all of them. I'm especially excited and thrilled to be here today, especially with these distinguished women that are here on this stage today. It's truly a historic moment for us to see so many women in key positions at some of the largest agencies in the entire country. Council President Nury Martinez, who's a good friend and a comadre, I call her a comadre, and LADOT General Manager Seleta Reynolds. Thank you for your leadership here in the city. You have been so instrumental, and especially as we recover from the pandemic. And I especially want to give a big shout out to our very own Stephanie Wiggins. You have only been here for 2 months, and you're already making history, Stephanie. You deserve a round of applause. And just last week, Metro held its first Board of Directors meeting for the new fiscal year. That meeting marked the first time in our agency's history that 2 women of color were simultaneously acting as chair of the Metro Board and as Chief Executive Officer. Boy, how times have changed. I know that it's critical to have women in these leadership roles in order to advance gender equity and in programs and services we provide, as well as in our agencies and our departments themselves. And that's why I believe it's so important that LADOT's Changing Lane study puts women at the very forefront. We have to make these kinds of investments if we hope to build infrastructure that is truly equitable and gender-free. As the new chair of the Metro Board of Directors, my top priority this year is to make Metro better. B-E-T-T-E-R, better. And what that means is, the answer is quite simple. We need to focus on bringing equitable transportation to every resident. What does that spell? It spells better. This is how we make Metro better, and public transit in general better. We need to focus on equity and those that need the help the most from the system. In line with that thinking, Metro recently undertook its own study of its riders called Understanding How Women Travel. Quite frankly, it was groundbreaking, a groundbreaking study, first of its kind in the country with any major transit agency taking this on. What we learned proved that we cannot approach transportation design and operations from one single perspective. Quite frankly, it can't just all be about males, right? We found that women actually ride more public transit than men, and their ridership, by the way, is growing. More than half of the women on the system have children with them. That means women may have strollers, diaper bags, and other belongings with them that usually makes transit even more difficult for them. Some of the women that we interviewed in our study had major concerns about safety. Some even said they intentionally wore sneakers on transit just so that they could be able to make a quick getaway in case they were assaulted. Women experience transportation differently than men do, so we should be designing transportation differently as well. The study has informed Metro's design and operation practices for the better. And as Stephanie Wiggins said at one of our Metro's committee meetings this month, quote, she said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast," unquote. If we do not have a culture that promotes and advances gender equity, then our programs and projects are meaningless. I look forward to the release of LADOT's Changing Lane study, and I hope that it will create a culture of change that uplifts women and girls that travel throughout Los Angeles. Thank you so much for having me today. And now I am honored to introduce your council president here for the City Council, Nury Martinez, to make a few remarks. Thank you.
Gracias, comadre. Thank you very much for being here. It's an honor to be here with these amazing female transportation leaders. This marks an important moment in our city's transportation history. For the first time, all leadership positions, from the chair of Metro to the CEO of Metro and the general manager of the Los Angeles Transportation Department, are all held by women. As the first Latina Council president, I am so proud to stand alongside them. In a world that has been shaped by men, from the workplace to the home, when women are in leadership positions, we bring a different perspective. That is why the Department of Transportation's Gender Equity and Transportation Study is so important. Because in the neighborhoods that I represent, walking to your destination is not always an option for you. They must rely on public transportation. And in Sun Valley, the study showed that women often are responsible for getting food on their table. It's the women who are running their households. Therefore, it's the women who are more likely to travel a longer distance to the store. Studies that gather public opinion matter. It informs us of what we're doing really well and what we need to do better. But what we do with this study is just as important, if not even more. And this study told us that women riding public transportation in Sun Valley wanted a more direct service from home to their destination, because we're the ones carrying the bags of groceries, riding with our children, and running errands, and that's just during the day. At night, direct service is just as important, if not even more important. Because I'll tell you, and these women leading transportation would tell you as well, and every woman that's listening to me will tell you, we have all experienced being nervous walking home at night. This is why it's vital to have women in leadership positions, because we recognize the circumstances where policy changes can improve the lives of women and children. I am so excited to announce that in August, the Department of Transportation will launch a pilot on 4 dash routes in Panorama City, Watts, El Sereno, and Pico Union. This program will allow riders to get off at any point along the route during late night and early morning. They will improve safety and comfort by bringing people closer to their destinations while keeping buses on their route for routine service. For those who cannot afford a taxi, who can't afford Uber, who cannot even afford to buy their own car, this program can be the difference between walking 2 blocks in the dark and walking 10 feet to your doorstep. So I'm really excited for this program, for this program coming to life, and I want to thank LADOT for the important work that it took to get here. Thank you, Seleta.
Thank you so much, Council President. And next, I'd like to ask a national leader building the future of transportation, who it's been a joy to work alongside. I've seen her not just at the local level, whether it's accelerating bus lanes and bike lanes during the pandemic, working with restaurants to do LA al fresco, thinking about technology and how we connect when things like scooters show up on a curb overnight, but here also nationally connecting folks. And she is the general manager of our Department of Transportation, Seleta Reynolds.
Thank you so much, Mayor Garcetti. Thank you, Supervisor Solis, Council President Martinez. This is a very big day for the Department of Transportation. I could not have imagined this day back in 2014 when I started my job. I was only one of only a handful of women transportation leaders around this country. And in 2016, I got a phone call from a second-year law student at Harvard who wanted to ask me, what was I doing about the transportation needs of women and girls in Los Angeles? Because she was writing a paper, it was part of her coursework, and she thought she could call a woman in transportation and I would have so much to tell her. And I felt in that moment that we had so much work to do, because when I began to look around to try and find out who else was doing this, where was the research, where was the data that could inform our policies, it didn't exist. And so when Mayor Garcetti put out his executive directive on gender equity, I knew it was a huge opportunity to take advantage of the incredible elected leadership that we have in the city and county of Los Angeles, to find the funds to begin to build that body of knowledge so that we could inform the choices that we make every single day, running some of the largest transit systems in the country on some of the largest roadway networks in the world. So our work has really shown us what, as a mother and a woman traveling around using public transit, bike share, subway, in every city I've lived in, the things I already knew. That the system was not designed for us, was not designed with our needs in mind. If you have a 9-to-5 white-collar job, the system works for you, but it doesn't work for you if you have small children with you and bags to carry, and if you don't have the funds available to access all of the transit options that wealthier folks have. And what we learned in our work in the communities of Watts and in Pacoima and in Sawtell is that women are paying a real-time tax. And on top of a gender gap in driver's licenses and smartphones, women are experiencing an opportunity gap. Because without universal basic mobility, you do not have opportunity. And in fact, there's a study that women actually experience 16.5% tax on their earnings because of transportation. Transportation is the reason that women are not making it to doctor's appointments on time. It is the reason why they don't let their kids go play in the parks in their neighborhood. And that has to change, because half of the population of the city of Los Angeles needs to rise if we are all going to rise together, especially recovering from this global pandemic. So I just want to recognize the folks who really put their heart and soul into this work. Lily O'Brien, who's here today, Claire Eberly, Connie Llanos at the Department of Transportation, Investing in Place, KDI, our partners, and our incredible community partners who we're going to hear from later on. This is really where my heart is. Because I want, a year from now, I want to call you up and say, did we get it right? Did we improve your lives? Because that's the only reason to do these jobs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Seleta. Next, I'll turn it over to, as was mentioned, a new leader at Metro, but she is a returning leader at Metro and a powerful leader at Metro and beyond. Stephanie Wiggins, who came to us from Metrolink, having been the deputy CEO in Metro just before. Now our first woman of color to lead Metro. And this study, which we started when she was there, finished while she was gone, and now we're leaving it to her to implement with us as board members. We are so excited to have her. So please welcome our Metro CEO, Stephanie Wiggins.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti, our chair, Supervisor Solis, Council President Martinez, and my ace boon coon, Seleta Reynolds. Good morning, everyone. I am Stephanie Wiggins, and it is so exciting to be here today. You've heard why this program is so important and this report, Changing Lanes, is so landmark. I just want to say a few words about representation and why representation matters. This photo will be historic, but as it relates to my role at Metro as its deputy CEO, I helped bring the Women and Girls Governing Council to Metro. And it was because Supervisor Solis was across the way at the county, and they had introduced their Women and Girls Initiative. And with women bringing their voices to the table and showing that intentionality, they have no idea how it affects people, and it affected me. And it helped me realize that in a role as the #2 person and the 3rd largest transit agency in the country, there was something that we could do at Metro as well. So I'm so excited to be here with Seleta, really seeing the fruit of what it means to be represented, have a voice at the table, and actually to make change happen. So I'm proud to be here. This Changing Lanes is going to change everything for the better. It will inspire Metro to advance our own gender action plan so that we can be transformative for the entire county, as well as help LADOT optimize the benefits of their findings from this report. I know as a first woman CEO of Metro, I'm committing to helping address gender disparity issues on our Metro system. And as what was really well documented in the Changing Lanes report, It is the BIPOC community, my community, that is most impacted and can benefit from transportation when it's done right. So I commit to working with our chair, Supervisor Solis, our board members, Mayor Garcetti, Director Bonin, and others to make sure that our community holds us accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. And speaking of those board members, it's now my pleasure to welcome a fellow board member to Supervisor Solis and I, who also chairs our Transportation Committee in Los Angeles City Council. He has been a visionary behind improving transit for all, behind our free transit, our FSI, and so much more. Councilmember, Chairman, and Metro Board Member Mike Bonin.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on the release of this report. I wanted to be here today really just to thank and to commend and to celebrate the incredible leadership we have at LADOT and LA Metro. Of the many privileges I've had as chair of our Transportation Committee, and thanks to the mayor as a member of the Metro Board of Directors, it has been to work with some incredible leaders. And Seleta and Stephanie are among the top and best and most innovative and most thoughtful transportation leaders in the United States of America. As Seleta noted, our transportation system was designed for people who work a 9-to-5 job. More to the point, it was really designed for guys who look like me, white guys who work in office buildings. And transforming our transportation system, making sure that it listens to the passengers and is shaped by the needs of the riders and the customers, is a revolutionary act. It comes in the form of a report. It comes in the form of changing the dash system in Nury's district. It comes in the form of changing how our next-gen system outlines where our buses go and how frequently they go and when they go. It comes in the form of providing car share in downtown LA and in Sawtell so that people who do not have a car but need an opportunity to run errands have a way to do it. It is a quiet revolution, but it is a powerful revolution. And to get it done, we need really thoughtful, vital leaders. And with Seleta and with Stephanie, we absolutely have them. And it's an honor to work with both of you and to sit behind you today and to stand behind you in the weeks and months to come. Thank you.
I've always said the mark of a strong man is one who can follow women well. So thank you for literally following them and following them as well as being a co-leader here. We have one more elected official and then two great community members we're going to hear from who are part of these studies. We're going to come back for everybody in Espanol to say a couple words in Spanish. So thank you for everybody's patience. I know we've got a long lineup, but these are all important words to say. Councilmember Joe Buscaino as well serves on our council's Transportation Committee and somebody who is looking at that quality of life and how we can make sure that this serves everybody. We're very pleased he's come to join us this morning as well. Please welcome Councilmember Joe Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Muchísimas gracias, and thank you so much for all of us to join this very historic day here in Los Angeles County, in the city of Los Angeles, with women at the helm of our major transportation government agencies. Let's give our women another round of applause, our amazing leaders here. Something that I know my daughter can look up to growing up in the city of Los Angeles, that it is possible to lead. I want to also say how exciting it is that this new Dash on-demand drop-off program will be coming to Watts as a direct result of this study, and I'm hopeful that this pilot will be a model to fill gaps in transportation services citywide. This is clearly a great first step, an immediate step that will that we need to be taken. However, there is so much more work to be done. I do want to thank Seleta and her entire department, LADOT, for conducting this study and bringing this much-needed data into the picture. This study revealed a lot of important information, which unfortunately shows that we're failing women in too many neighborhoods throughout the city of Los Angeles, and in particular the neighborhoods like mine. What we found is that the situation for women traveling in Watts is dire. Watts residents reported perceptions of danger at night, fear of crime, poor sidewalk conditions as barriers to get around at higher rates than the other 3 pilot neighborhoods. This report also states that out of the 3 neighborhoods, Watts lacks the most in basic on-street infrastructure, like crosswalks, bus shelters, signalized intersections. And in Watts, women are substantially less likely than men to be able to access their daily destinations within their own neighborhoods. Watts community members also saw some of the greatest job losses due to the pandemic compared to other neighborhoods studied. And women in the neighborhood reported travel costs to be a significant burden. And at the same time, the data also shows that in Watts, women are using public transit systems more than men and using them for longer periods of time. Out of these pilot neighborhoods, Watts residents used transit the most and drove the least. Watts also has the highest share of zero-car households and the highest percentage of female workers living in these households. And in my community, only 54% of female respondents are licensed to drive compared to 75% of male respondents. This is a higher gender disparity in licensure among neighborhoods studied throughout the city. Clearly, this data is telling us that communities like Watts need strong public transit systems more than any other neighborhood. And what I see here is a cry for help from women in Watts and women throughout the Los Angeles, and it's our responsibility to do better, to take care of everyone, particularly our most vulnerable populations. In Watts, we have started to make strides through the implementation of the Transformative Climate Communities Grant, something that Mayor Garcetti, myself, and the entire Watts community lobbied and with the state legislature. That this study shows that we need to do more, and I look forward to working closely with the mayor's office, LADOT, Metro, and more importantly, our community members on next steps moving forward. And speaking of our community members, I want to take a moment to thank Kiana and Amada participating in this study. They'll soon be introduced here by Mayor Garcetti, and we cannot make changes without full participation of our community. So really happy to have them join us here representing the Watts community. So with that, I'll welcome back the mayor to introduce our community speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember. And as you queued up, Kiana Stepney and Amada Valle are our next 2 speakers. Kiana is a Watts resident and a community leader who conducted research for the Changing Lane study, literally one of our co-authors of this, written by, for, with her, and hopefully will be implemented together too. So Kiana, come on up and please give her a round of applause.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kiana Stepney, and I am a longtime resident of the city of Watts. Thank you to the office of the mayor, the LA Department of Transportation, KDI, and the entire project team for inviting me here today for the work we have all gathered. As the last 2 years have demonstrated so clearly, there is so much positivity that comes from collective action and from letting our voices be heard. At its core, that is what Changing Lanes is all about. When it comes to designing and planning cities and the transportation system that keeps those cities connected, it seemed for so long that a lot of decisions were made behind closed doors. One of the reasons I think this report is valuable is because it offers an alternative to this style of decision making, opening the doors to us, the community members. As a mother navigating public transportation in Los Angeles, I experience the urgency of this community-centered approach on a daily basis. Because I don't have a car, I often have to walk to the grocery store and lug heavy groceries back home in the heat. I've seen other mothers who fill their strollers with groceries to walk back home, meaning their young children often have to walk. I participated in this study because I know it doesn't have to be this way, and because I believe we work together to create a transportation system that will serve all Angelenos. Changing Lanes marks an important step towards doing just that. For me and for so many women in this city, implementing these recommendations of this report will make transportation safer, more accessible, and more useful. I will be able to work at different times and support my family. It will create pathways to get more involved in Watts community and to explore new neighborhoods. As I know from my own experience, transportation is never just about moving from one point to another. It's about access to education, access to income earning opportunities, access to housing, access to better health services, access to our community. And with all the voices that went into this report and for all the support that we see here today, I see LA taking a big step in becoming a fairer and safer community. Thank you, guys.
Y finalmente, nuestra amiga Amada Valle, una organizadora. She's going to be speaking in Spanish, but Amada is a great community organizer in Watts. She was integral to this study. She has been an incredible pillar in the community, and we are so proud. Tenemos mucho orgullo tenerte hoy. Por favor, Amada Valle.
Hola, buenos días a todos.
Buenos días.
Buenos días. Una bendición el día de hoy estar aquí, porque para mí es un privilegio ser portavoz de la comunidad de Watts. El día de hoy es un día importante para Watts, porque creo que nuestras peticiones van a ser escuchadas, porque tenemos unos representantes que siempre han estado atendiendo nuestro llamado, y el día de hoy no va a ser la excepción. A hoy queremos pedirles muy encarecidamente que nuestras peticiones no sean de los oídos hacia afuera, sino de los oídos hacia su corazón, que esto pueda ser posible, porque sabemos que tenemos unos representantes que siempre han hecho lo posible, que lo imposible sea posible. Entonces, el día de hoy es un día grande para todos. Y hoy les voy a... Muchas gracias al alcalde y consejo, al KDI y a todos los miembros involucrados en este proyecto, que tienen como meta proveer estabilidad y seguridad, tranquilidad a los residentes de Watts. Es evidente que hay problemas de movilidad en la comunidad. Muchos de nosotros dependemos del transporte público, ya que no tenemos vehículos personales. Por eso es muy importante que tengamos acceso a un transporte de confianza. Yo uso el transporte público todo el tiempo. Necesito ir al doctor, al mercado, hacer pagos, mandados. Decidí participar en el estudio de Chain Line porque miré la oportunidad de mejorar el transporte público en mi comunidad. Muchas personas en Watts dependen del autobús, y cuando cambian las rutas o los buses están llenos o no pasan, debemos depender de otras alternativas para llegar al destino. El estudio Chain Line nos está dando la oportunidad de decidir cómo mejorar el transporte en Watts. Como residente de Watts sabemos mejorar cómo movernos por nuestras comunidades, y por eso estoy contenta de que Chain Line nos esté dando la oportunidad de elevar nuestras necesidades. Un mejor transporte diseñado con la comunidad en cualquiera significa que madres solteras podrían viajar más fácilmente y con seguridad. Las personas tendrán acceso a más oportunidades de trabajo, de negocios. Personas como yo podríamos acceder a los doctores, clínicas de salud necesarios para promover nuestra calidad de vida. Es importante que se implementen los hallazgos del estudio Chain Line, porque estos hallazgos vienen directamente de las voces de la comunidad. Nosotros sabemos sobre las necesidades en la comunidad más que nadie. En estos estudios tomamos en cuenta a todos los padres de familia, personas de la tercera edad, jóvenes, trabajadores. Muchas organizaciones ofrecen cambios en nuestras comunidades, pero nunca ha pasado nada. Sería muy agradable que esta vez se pueda cumplir nuestras necesidades y se mejore la calidad de vida en nuestra comunidad. Muchas gracias por escuchar mis palabras. Que Dios me los bendiga a todos. a todos ustedes, estos reporteros que hacen posible que nuestras voces se escuchen a nuestras comunidades. Gracias, gracias.
Gracias, Marta. Muy buenos días en español. Todos aquí presentes compartimos la misma meta para el futuro de transportación aquí en Los Ángeles. Queremos crear más oportunidades y movilidad en comunidades históricamente sin representación, reducir la congestión y polución y mejorar nuestro sistema del transporte público para todos. El trabajo que hemos logrado por medio de la medida M para construir y ampliar 15 líneas de tránsito rápido ayudará a alcanzar las dos primeras metas y traerá equidad de género a nuestro transporte público. Nos enfocamos en la experiencia de las mujeres por medio de 2 estudios aquí. I was going to do this at a press conference, right? These 2 studies right here. Oh, don't forget you. Mascarilla, por favor. Y estos estudios son muy importantes al futuro de transporte público en Los Ángeles. Y el estudio de Metro, entiendo cómo las mujeres viajan, y el de LADOTs, cambiando carriles, un estudio de equidad de género en el transporte. La equidad de género es una prisma por la cual vemos todo en Los Ángeles, el valor al centro de nuestro trabajo. Y somos afortunados en Los Ángeles al tener mujeres extraordinarias liderando a Metro, el Departamento de Transportación y nuestro Consejo Municipal. Estas líderes les interesa profundamente el futuro de esta ciudad y están comprometidas a construir un futuro más justo y equitativo para todos los angelinos. With that, anybody else who wants to add Spanish? Supervisor Hilda Solis, otra vez. I'll leave these up here for you so you can listen to it.
Okay. Thank you. I'll be brief. Es un día muy especial y muy histórico para nosotros, no solamente para las mujeres, pero también a las mujeres que ya dieron sus testigos hoy día. Qué bueno que están aquí también apoyándonos y haciendo su voz tan fuerte, diciendo la verdad, porque de veramente estamos aquí para pelear para los derechos de las personas que usan el transporte. Y ya sabemos que la mayoría de las personas que usan el transporte son mujeres y muchos de ellos vienen de bajo ingreso. Tienen hijos, niñas y hijos y ya sabemos la historia de ellos porque muchos sufren también, quieren tener más seguridad, quieren saber que van a llegar a esos sitios en tiempo. También quieren ver si están esperando el autobús, que alguien no les va a molestar o pegar o atacar. Todo eso es bien reportado en los reportes aquí, pero también quiero dar las gracias a las personas que han hecho este reporte para nosotros. Quiero dar las gracias al consejo, también el alcalde Nury Martinez también y el gerente general de LADOT, Seleta Reynolds, por su liderazgo en la ciudad, especialmente durante nuestra pandemia. Y también quiero dar el reconocimiento a Stephanie Wiggins, que solo llevó 2 meses al enfrentar el metro y ya estamos viendo un cambio en la historia de Metro. La semana pasada, Metro tuvo una primera junta de nuevo año fiscal y por la primera vez en la historia hay 2 mujeres de color, yo y ella, Stephanie. Es importante tener mujeres porque también traen liderazgo y sus voces necesitan oír. Y vamos a ver muchos cambios en programas y servicios hoy día y adelante. Por esto fue muy importante que LADOT inició el estudio Changing Lanes, un estudio que está basado en las experiencias de las mujeres usando el transporte público. Este año, como nuevo presidente de la Junta de Metro, mi meta es mejorar a Metro. Pero ¿cómo vamos a cambiar eso? Simplemente deberíamos de tener un transporte que va a tratar a toda la gente igual y les va a respetar a las mujeres y sus familias. Por eso Metro lanzó también su propio estudio llamado Compresión de cómo viajan las mujeres. Este fue un estudio único y el primero de su tipo para todas las agencias de tránsito del país. El estudio demostró que no podemos operar el transporte de una sola perspectiva. Las mujeres usan la transporte pública más que los hombres y también está creciendo su participación. Más de la mitad de las mujeres que usan el sistema de transporte tienen hijos y con ellos cargan mucho equipaje. A otras mujeres del estudio también quieren haber mucho más seguridad. Las experiencias de las mujeres en el transporte público son muy diferentes que de los hombres, pero eso deberíamos hacer el transporte público más con una manera diferente. Este informe ha mejorado las prácticas y operaciones de Metro. Si no tenemos una manera de ayudar a las mujeres y hombres igual, nuestros programas y proyectos no tienen sentido. Estoy anticipando la publicación del estudio Changing Lanes de LADOT y espero que se haga un cambio que ayude a las mujeres que viajen aquí en Los Ángeles. Y muchas gracias por invitarme aquí hoy día para dar unas palabras. Y ahora les presento a la presidenta del Consejo, Nury Martinez, que es una gran persona también que está apoyando también los valores de las mujeres. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, comadre. Esto señala un momento importante en la historia de transportación para nuestra comunidad. Como primera vez, todos los puestos de liderazgo de la presidenta de Metro, la directora ejecutiva y la gerente del Departamento de Transportación son ocupadas por mujeres. Como la primera presidenta latina del Concilio Municipal, estoy muy orgullosa de estar aquí con ellas haciendo este trabajo. En un mundo que ha sido diseñado y formado por hombres, desde el lugar el empleo hasta el lugar del hogar, cuando las mujeres están en puestos de liderazgo, presentamos una perspectiva muy diferente. Por eso es muy importante en el estudio de transportación de equidad de género del Departamento de Transportación. Porque en los vecindarios que yo represento, caminar a su destino no simplemente unas de las veces no es posible. Dependemos en la transportación pública. En Sun Valley, por ejemplo, el estudio muestra que a menudo son las mujeres las que son responsables por poner comida en su mesa. Son las mujeres al frente del hogar y por eso las mujeres las tenemos que poner en prioridad. Ellas son las que usualmente hacen los viajes más largos, de más distancia, a la tienda y a sus mandados. Esta encuesta nos demuestra que la mujer que anda en transportación pública quiere un servicio más directo de casa a su destino. Porque nosotros somos las que cargamos las bolsas de comida, andamos con nuestros hijos haciendo mandados todo el día. Y en la noche el servicio directo es mucho más importante para las mujeres que transbordan en la noche. Porque les puedo decir yo y las mujeres dirigiendo las agencias de transportación y cualquier mujer que me esté escuchando ahorita, que todas nos hemos sentido nerviosas a caminar de noche a nuestras casas. Por eso es fundamental tener mujeres en puesto de liderazgo, porque reconocemos las circunstancias donde cambiamos de la póliza puede mejorar las vidas de mujeres y niños. Esto es muy emocionante para nosotros y para el distrito que yo represento. Vamos a anunciar que en agosto el Departamento de Transportación lanzará rutas pilotas de Dash en las comunidades de Panorama, Watts, El Sereno y Pico Union. Este programa les permitirá a los pasajeros viajar a cualquier sitio o a lo largo de una ruta durante la noche y la madrugada. Esto mejorará la seguridad y la comodidad para mantener a nuestros pasajeros seguros. Porque a las personas que no puedan pagar un taxi o un Uber y personas que no tengan su propio automóvil, este programa puede ser la diferencia entre caminar 2 cuadras en la oscuridad y caminar 10 pies a la puerta de su propia casa. Muchas gracias al Departamento de Transportación por el trabajo que han hecho ahora, y hay que mejorar el servicio para las mujeres del transporte público. Muchas gracias.